Here we have a walnut tilt and turn tea table from the third quarter of the 1700s, 1750, 1775. It's made in Philadelphia. This piece has been appraised. It has a carved out lip around it, as you can see. Done on a lathe, I believe. It is not one piece of walnut, but 3 pieces. Of course, being old, it's cracked. And it has its original finish, but the top part is scrubbed, meaning as the woman of the day washed the top, it wore out the finish, and they would touch it up every so often. And I'll turn it around. This is a tilt and turn table. And I'll turn it around so you could see the Birdcage. That's called a Birdcage. That allowed the table to turn. And why that's important is because during the morning tea, or whenever they had it, the woman of the home would invite her guests, and they would sit at this table, and she would pour the first guest tea, and then she would turn the table to that guest, and she would do so for all guests. The only purpose was for tea. Now, there were many tilt tables back in the day. They weren't for tea. These generally were for tea. And by the time 1800 came, after the Revolutionary War and America was kind of rebelling against culture from England, we converted slowly but surely to a coffee drinking nation, which we still are today. So these tilt and turn tables kind of went out of style. And there you see the lock. Let me get down here. And then the butterfly joints. There's one butterfly joint to put the pieces together. And another butterfly joint. And the Birdcage. Now this is a Philadelphia piece, as I said, because of the depressed ball. It's really nicely done on a lathe. And these slats, let me get back here. Those slats going up and down. I can't remember the name right now as I'm doing this video. Those go all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. Very typical Philadelphia. Now how these tables worked, I don't really want to lock it, but of course you put it down like this. And of course that's a nice table, you look at it. And then the woman of the day would serve the tea, and I'll go on an edge here. And then she would turn it like this to her guest. Then pour another cup. Of course, teacups back then did not have handles. They were like the teacups you get when you go to a Chinese restaurant. And you turn to the next guest. And then when you were done, you locked the table. And then you would have your tea. It's kind of a nice... It was very cultural then, very important to show civilized behavior. And of course this thing would just tilt up. And you could put it out of the way, up against the wall, when you were done. Of course this here locked the table open, so when you put stuff on it, it didn't flip over. Now I'm going to put the camera down for a minute. And what I want to do is show you the bottom, how it's constructed. See, you have that iron work there. And of course, at this time in history, they only had rosehead nails. So that kept the 3 legs together without them separating. That ironwork there made by a blacksmith. And those beautiful rosehead nails. And there are no pads on these feet. None whatsoever. That leg there is a little crack. And I'll lift this up. And there you could see the very nice lathe turnings. And this little hole here, now of course the table top sits on top of this and rotates on this, and this is where you put the lock. You just had a piece of wood that was angled like a door stopper, narrow at one end, gets higher at the other, and that would stop the table from turning, and you could enjoy your tea. And there is the other part. And that's what that was rotating on right there, that piece. And some of these I can get into focus. They have the plugs in where the screws are. Those are all original screws. Let me go up here. Those are all original plugs. The screw on the table. So that is my 3rd quarter tilt and turn tea table. I hope you enjoyed watching, and look forward to more other videos I have on my antiques. Thanks for watching.